16 years ago, Kate Bush made her storybook entrance into the pop music world. She was discovered by guitarist David Gilmour of Pink Floyd. Her first album went straight to the top of the British pop charts while she was still a teenager. Bush developed a loyal following in the United States and even scored a top 30 hit with the song Running Up That Hill, but further success has eluded her here. She's never done a concert in the U.S., in part because she doesn't like to fly. Bush has released her 8th album, The Red Shoes, which is receiving praise from critics and fans, and once again getting her some airplay. Andy Lyman reports.
Kate Bush's pop confection Rubber Band Girl haunts the airwaves. Fittingly enough, it's about the need for resiliency and the power to bounce back. This is a comeback for Bush in more ways than one. She's recovering from the deaths of her mother and her lead guitarist. And her album, The Red Shoes, is a tribute to her friend, British filmmaker Michael Powell, who died 4 years ago. Powell's celebrated film, The Red Shoes, is about a ballerina who is compelled to dance. But Bush says that's not necessarily her story.
I don't know if I feel compelled to sing, but I do feel compelled to write music, and a part of that is singing. But it's also very much the whole process of sitting with an instrument and creating a song to sing. I don't really think of myself as a singer, I guess.
That may surprise a lot of publicists and journalists who for years have touted Bush's multi-octave voice. Music writer David Stanton describes it as ranging from a rumbling bass to a piercing alto.
She's not Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey, who are trying to break glasses and do Memorex commercials, you know. I mean, her voice has a huge span, but it breaks at the edges. I think that what's good about her is not that she's so polished, but when she does really reach out, it's expressive.
We used to say, hell, we're young. But now we see that life is sad.
If Bush's voice has rough edges, her approach to putting it down on tape is extremely polished. She takes years to perfect an album, but that's changing. She's decided she wants the finished project to have the urgency of the first working tape.
I got myself into a sort of classic situation where we'd done demos for the album and we were very pleased with them, and when we came to actually go into the studio and reproduce these, we were finding we were trying to make them sound like the demos because the demos had a very spontaneous feel. So I felt that if I could actually write the songs straight onto tape, you would no longer have a demo. The demo would be the master. It also meant any ideas that had come up that were spontaneous were there, they were on tape, and you could keep them.
But Bush doesn't always want to commit her ideas to tape as they come into her head. For the song Moments of Pleasure, Bush went back to her original writing process, composing at the piano.
You're surrounded by technology and you've got this multi-track there, so you just put all your ideas straight onto tape, forget them, and move on to the next thing. Whereas when you're actually writing something and keeping it in your head, each time you play it through, there'll maybe just be a subtle change here and there, and it gave me a feeling of a little more confidence, because I felt I might have actually forgotten how to do this. You know, it was such a long time that I used to work like that.
Some moments that I've had, some moments of pleasure. Diving
This Bush style is probably the one that's had the greatest influence on a younger generation of artists, according to music writer David Stanton.
People like Sinead O'Connor, Tori Amos, Jane Siberry, people who are experimenting with their vocal range, with their expressiveness, who are really trying to be artistic in a pop medium, owe a lot to her. But I also think she's influenced pretty much anybody who struck out on their own and did it their own way.
The song of Solomon, the song of everyone who walks the path of a solitary hat.
Bush writes and produces her own albums. She directs her own videos. She's even directed a movie titled The Line That Crossed the Curve, starring actress Miranda Richardson. Ever diplomatic, Bush begs off on the question of whether women create from a different point of view than men.
Well, I'm not a man, so I can't compare the two. How can you say how things would be if you weren't who you were? You can only look at things from where you stand. But I think when it does come down to it, we are all, in essence, human beings, and we all have very similar feelings, even if they're affected differently by the environments that we're in. We're still, feeling vulnerable creatures.
And that's Kate Bush. Her new album, The Red Shoes, is on Columbia Records. For National Public Radio, I'm Andy Lyman.